I'm gonna hit my intro. And hey guys, welcome everyone. I got IndigoAngel with me. We're gonna get started in a second. I'm gonna hit my intro and we're gonna do this. And yeah, hopefully the intro plays. And now I'm muted. Oh, there we go. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I'm really excited about my guest today. She's been on my show like 5 or 6 or 7 times, maybe 8 times, and I consider her a really good friend, honestly. I consider her a close friend. I remember when I was going through my breakup, I became friends with IndigoAngel, and she kind of talked me through my breakup, and she was kind of going through a breakup at the time. So we really became, like, I guess you could say, good friends, and we bonded during that time. And yeah, and a little bit more about her. She's a star seed. She's a planetary grid worker. She's a psychic seer. She's a mom, and she's a really good mom. And I'm really just happy to call her a good friend, and I'm happy to have her back on the show. Indy, thanks so much for coming back on. How are you?
I'm really good, Rob. It's so good to be back with my Typical Skeptic Podcast family. And yeah, I just love you guys all so much. I'm excited to be here and just share whatever codes need to come through. And I feel like it's been such a magical time, really. So much beautiful things are happening and shifting, and new earth is emerging upon us. And yeah, it's good to be here. And yeah.
Would you say the veil's thinning? Like, do you think it is? It seems like the veil's thinning, and like it seems like things are starting to become more, I don't know, transparent. Like people are starting to have more experiences, and people are starting to be more. It's like the veil's thinning, and people are also waking up. So people are having more experiences, but at the same time, people are still waking up. So it's pretty interesting. Like, do you kind of agree? Or I know you see things on a more intricate level, so I'm sure you have. But
Well, I feel that a lot of shadow is definitely coming to light. A lot of people having these deeper inner realizations and revelations within their awakening, like you just said. I think we're getting, new upgrades in terms of our masculine and feminine body. We're becoming more telepathic. We're becoming telekinetic. We're being able to bilocate and do even like teleportation and out of body and levitation in some places. We can achieve these things. So yeah, there's a lot going on in terms of the ascension process on the planet. I do feel like we're in a time that the higher divine feminine templating is coming online at a more increased level than it ever has been before, which is really, really good. That means that the planet is actually on the right path. It means that we are actually stepping into an age in which compassion, kindness, grace, nurturing, bringing things back to its original divine state, holistic healing, nature, all of these things are starting to become much more sought after to the seeker. And we're getting a lot of downloads as to what our role is in building the new earth body, building the new earth template, building the future. And so all of us are kind of compartmentalized in our work across the board in the higher consciousness community and the planetary ascension process. But ultimately, the new visions are being laid through the collective unified field, which is slowly evolving and bringing that baseline unified field up in vibration and frequency. So yeah, we're all working really hard to do that. And there's so many ways in which we can do that. But it is happening, it is shifting, and I'm definitely seeing what's going on in the level of mechanics within the grid, in which how it's being applied and where it's manifesting on the earth as well.
That's really interesting that you brought up the grids, because that's what we were going to talk about tonight, especially your grid work in Hawaii, which you just did, and then Arkansas, which where you're going to be back on with Missy Hill, or I don't know I hope you guys both come on October 4th, but we're going to talk about that then, and we can talk about it now too. But yeah, talk about that a little bit. Gridwork missions in Hawaii and Arkansas. And people are probably wondering why Arkansas. There has to be some deeper esoteric meaning as to why you picked Arkansas. I don't know if it was you or Missy that saw that out, or it was both of you. I saw that Arkansas is close to Asheville, and Asheville seems like a really magical place. But wherever you want to go with that, like, I guess, yeah.
Well, when I was on our Guardian Rescue mission in Hawaii, I went to a very sacred monastery that's located at the base of the Wailua River, which comes and filters down from the Waialeale crater, which the Waialeale crater is considered the cradle of life stargate portal. It's the 122 to 144 dimensional guardian stargate on the planet, which is very advanced organic planetary technology. And essentially, this monastery sits in a very high charged and powerful place. And what's essentially there is not only a Hindu monastery, but underneath in a ethereal and holographic form is the golden temple, the golden Venus shrine, essentially, that's kind of lives underneath and exists through this. So this is a portal passageway that connects to all of the other Venusian templating on the planet, the other Venusian temples, which there's eight of them across the world. And Venus's sole contract with Earth is to essentially guide the New Earth prophecies and basically teach humanity how to evolve into the phases of New Earth and upgrade the consciousness. They're working together, essentially. So one thing we realized was in that monastery is there's a giant quartz crystal. Okay, like one of the biggest quartz crystals like in the world. Okay.
How big would you say it is?
I have to get my book, but it's like a very large piece. It's in the Lemurian Scrolls. So it's a book that I've been kind of toting around. But not only was it in the book of the Lemurian Scrolls,
Wait a minute. You got to tell me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just got to. I want everybody to understand everything that's going on. When did you find out about this book, the Lemurian Scrolls? I've never heard about that. And who wrote that book? That sounds amazing.
I'm not well, I think it was the gurus from the monastery that actually wrote it. It's called Angelic Prophecies of Humanity's Origins.
Wow. That's interesting.
The book is in my room. I'd have to go get it. I showed it on a couple of my last shows, actually. It's what it is it's basically a continuation of like the Dravidian scrolls. So it comes from India, actually, because it's a Hindu monastery. So a lot of their teachings go back to prior to the Kali Yuga, and talking about how man incarnated and the connection and the reverence with life and what spiritual and ancient practices in which sustain the body the most. And it really comes from like a yogi perspective or a monk perspective. But essentially they brought over a crystal from Arkansas. Okay, so the crystal in that monastery is from Arkansas, which means that really there's an energetic passageway between Hawaii and Arkansas. There is a connection between the inner Earth gate system and the crystal grid structure that's within the United States. Now, we know a lot of the New Earth prophecy actually goes back to speaking about the emergence of the Golden Light Cities and the emergence of the cathedrals of learning and the emergence of sacred grounds in which the divine oracle priestess can again walk the earth and speak her truth and all of this and channel enlightenment for the world type of thing. So these grid networks are very interlinked and connected. And I do believe that the Guardian Stargate in Hawaii is energetically preparing to support the emergence of the Dove light grid matrice from the United States. Now, this is kind of the how it goes, is that this will expand from the US and across the globe, and this will be the initiation point of awakening that brings forth another round, another cycle within the planetary ascension cycle that increases enlightenment on the planet and helps to continue to merge us towards the ability to manifest and co-create through unified thought fields. So what's happening is we're going to be activating the gate systems in Hawaii and merging those portal passageways, clearing them to Arkansas to help bring and anchor more of that dove light Christed consciousness into the United States. Now, we realized this prior to and 4th of July when we did our United States Gridworker mission, and we realized that Arkansas, okay, it is the center point of the emergence of those 12 solar disk activations that are going to occur. So there's 12 solar disks in the North and the South Americas, Arkansas being kind of the center point of the emergence of all 12 of them. So Arkansas is like the center of the United States almost in some ways.
I thought this was interesting. Christy in the chat just said called it Arklantis. Like Arkansas is in Atlantis. Like it could be like the hub of the new Atlantis almost.
It would be something similar as that it would, I mean, there's so much natural resources in Arkansas. I don't know if people know because it's kind of a protected hidden gem. And I think it's because of the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears ultimately is kind of the stopping point. It's the ending point in Arkansas, which is where 5 native indigenous tribes were essentially removed and placed into their reserves and things that they like created for them. But it was a bloodbath prior to that. I mean, the natives fought for a couple centuries. I mean, they fought for over like 100 years, and it was a bloodbath. Essentially, this is what the Trail of Tears is all about. I think they initiated the Native American Removal Act sometime in the 1800s, and this gave the U.S. government permission to basically do this to the natives and things like this. And so you may have heard of some of the wars. There was the Creek War, the Seminole Wars, and the Plains of the Indian Wars. And this was when like Crazy Horse and I think the other guy was Sitting Bull. Like this is where like the final like things popped off and took off. So
wow.
Basically, yeah. Arkansas is like a national heritage site to these events. And so a lot of the native and indigenous ceremonies were actually done here. There's actually an archaeological site in Arkansas. I think it's called the Plum Bayou Archaeological Site. And it's like a couple of mounds that they have, but this is one of those native ceremonial steps. Also another place called Natural Steps, and also Mount Pinnacle itself. You know,
you should, I was going to say you'd probably get along really well with Sarah Bressman Cosme. She wrote those books. She wrote A Hypnotist's Guide to the Atlantis and all that. But then she wrote a book. Her third book was A Hypnotist's Guide to the Trail of Tears, where she felt like she channeled. She felt like it wasn't fully based on that. She felt like she channeled this Native American man from in hypnosis. So and he was a part of the Trail of Tears. That's what her book. It's pretty interesting.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's definitely cycling back around. I think to become at the forefront of people's awareness, because we always have to clear deeper layers of this, because this is truly some of the trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder that lives in the land. Like the bloodshed is still in the land. So it's a lot of clearing that I think we have to do. But ultimately, the entire focus of this Gridworker mission isn't solely on the Trail of Tears, but it's definitely going to take up a good portion. Sorry, I have mosquitoes. A good portion of that. They're starting to come out right now. They're going to come out for like 10 minutes and then they'll chill out. But basically, we're going to be focusing on a lot of other elements of this as well. Mount Pinnacle itself is a clear quartz crystal pyramid.
Wow. Now, where's Mount Pinnacle? That's in Arkansas?
Yeah. I don't know if you have maybe you have a map or something. I don't know. I didn't give
you. Let me look it up on my phone. I'd like to see. I never heard of it. But it's a pyramid. So it's a natural pyramid in the United States.
Well, it's like a mountain. It's a mount, but
yeah,
the quartz mineral concentration of the quartz is like the highest anywhere in the world, that in Mount Ida, and more of like the northern western corner of Arkansas, essentially. Everywhere from Eureka Springs all the way down to Hot Springs, over to Mount Pinnacle, over to Little Rock. And so yeah, it's a really activated area, essentially. And So we
Well,
have
I see it. Yeah.
there, that's for sure.
This is it, guys. It looks. I see. What I have a feeling about, like, is like the reason why I wanted to show is because that was definitely a pyramid. You look at it. It's shaped just like a pyramid. Oh my god, that's a pyramid for sure. It's just covered up with brush and stuff. You know what I mean? But I'd love to see like what's like. There's might be something underneath there. So I don't know if there's like entrances to it or like like secret. I'm talking about like if there's like something where I'll let show a little bit more. But
Right,
I can't
right.
believe you always find the best stuff. You find the star forts, you found this, like you're always on to like amazing things. I love that, you know.
Well, it's because I live through the living current in the organic divine blueprint. And so I'm just being shown where to go according to where the energies are needed to be shifted, moved, activated, rehabilitated, whatever it is. And I get the download of the templating in which has to occur. And then I just, this one was, I wasn't planning on doing this. I mean, I wasn't. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I just went to Hawaii. I need to come chill out. But then it's like, I there's a couple things that occurred that kind of like awoken me to this. It was the last day I met one of the Hawaiian natives. His name was Makapa. He was a native born from the Valley of the Kings. He has his own heiau in Hawaii, in Kauai, and he basically just gave me a lot of confirmation about that crystal. And so flying home and getting here, I just was really devastated. I mean, I was crying my eyes out getting back to the airport because the elevation of my consciousness, the expansion of my field, the enlightenment in which I received while I was there, it was just so expanded. Coming back in, I could really see the density in which is suppressing people's fields. It's the entire collective. It really truly is. And nobody realizes it, how oppressed that their fields are. They're entirely in their phones. Nobody's aware of other people. Nobody's in their heart chakra. Nobody. I mean, and you can feel a lot of the distortions on people. Like you can feel the manipulated genetics and blood code in the COVID era of babies and things like this. Like you can feel the presence of children's bodies fighting for themselves and their health. You can feel people that have been intoxicated and drinking lots of alcohol. You can feel people that have been eating a lot of processed meats and pig and like animals that are slaughtered through inhumane acts and suffering. Like everything is just like so visible, the impurities that are running amongst humanity, and nobody's aware of it. Nobody's awakened out of this as much as like we feel like we're awakened out of it. And so coming back in, I just had to fight through all that devastation. And then getting home, I just immediately realized like the next step is to go to Mount Pinnacle. And it's really this momentous current of accelerating and the divine supporting the mission work, because this is truly God's work. Like this is truly what's intended for the evolution of humanity to occur. It's for people to get alignment with their spiritual missions and begin working on the grids, because this is what will shift the consciousness at a more accelerated rate so that we can start building things like refuges for the souls and the spirit, sacred praying grounds, and temple systems of our own for the new earth consciousness to exist within and through. It's becoming a real thing. This isn't just an online thing anymore. This will embed in through the communities, and this will become a more expanded and collective and well-known way of, I think, connecting with the divine and honoring source. And there's a new age philosophy and spiritual belief that is birthing itself through the Gridworker evolution and movement. So this will become more socially accepted. And so we have to build the inner dynamics and structures to uphold and support and host these new consciousness fields to exist, essentially. And that's basically what's happening, because the light will come through the temple systems. Okay, and then this is how it will expand into the education systems and expand into the political systems, and to evolve things from the light, right, going inside and out. What was gathered in Kauai, Hawaii was the 12th dimensional sound healing technology, which was something that we haven't really had here yet. So this ancient wisdom and these ancient knowledges are being retaught, and they're being taught to the diamond and the crystal and the rainbow children and the starseed children and all of this. They will be the new teachers. They'll be the new leaders that will teach and repair the 12th dimensional blueprint for humanity. So yeah, a lot's happening. A lot.
You got a good comment here from this is kind of like backing up what you're saying. This is Brooke calling. She says, I think I would like to move to Mount Pinnacle. She says, I'm physically ill here in the city, Dallas, like a frog in boiling water. That's how people feel, you know?
It's absolutely true. Big major cities are actually detrimental to starseeds' health. So if you live in LA, if you live in New York, if you live in Miami, if you live in Houston, if you live in Denver, if you live any of these places where there's high crime rate, high homelessness rate, high planetary weapon systems and bioweapons, frequency fences degrading your field, inundation of chemicals and pollutions, and genetically modified foods, basically all of the ways in which they're attacking your organic life force energy. Essentially, there's so much satanic energy there that you won't be able to keep your head above water. It's not recommended for anybody who's a highly sensitive person, empath, starseed, indigo, to be residing in any place like this. It cannot support your light body.
Yeah.
I do not recommend it. So, but hey, it's a process of us, each individual, learning to choose themselves again, learning to truly choose what matters, like their health and their spiritual liberation, their spiritual freedom, and their spiritual gnosis, and making those bigger life changing moves to start to sustain and truly support what it is that your body's telling you, right? Because your body knows it's struggling. That's what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And your body will tell you all the times, or anytime. Like if something's wrong, like your body tries to give you signs of what you need to do. Like to correct it. Like if you listen to your body, you can tune into it. Especially the more empathic people get, and the more to higher like consciously that you get, the more you can tune into your body. It seems like I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about well, it's about really tuning with your spirit.
Can
Like
I ask you a question? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
your spirit is the inner voice. Like it is connected to your higher self. They work together basically. They're different layers through different fires of your consciousness, but essentially it's really what ultimately has to come first, because that's the energy that wants to love you. That's the energy that wants to support you. That's the energy that wants to let you know that you're valuable, and that you're in atonement with the divine, that you're in alignment with that you're in one man with that. And so anything that's hurting you and is depleting you and is consuming you and is taking away from you is really actually completely out of alignment with your spirit. So the spirit, it serves to protect you. This is why we have spirit guides, right? We have these images of spirits that come to us, is because we see them as like messengers, but a lot of times they are projections from your higher consciousness to send you a message and to sustain and to uphold you. The spirit is what upholds the physical body.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask you was, do you feel like you were able to like make a big difference in Hawaii? And what did you see there when you were in Hawaii? Because we didn't. You talked about it a little bit, but like, what did you see from as far as the grids there? And I mean, there was a big tragedy there recently with the fires. I can't think of the town now, but I mean, did you go there as well to that town where the fires were? I don't know why I can't think of it right now. Someone in the chat will tell me, but I've talked about it many times on my show, so it's not like I'm ignorant to it. Like I've talked about it many times, but for whatever reason, the Maui, wasn't it Maui where the fires were?
Yeah, that was last year.
Lahaina, and
Yeah.
I don't even put it in the chat. It came into my mind. I had a brain, whatever. But sorry,
I
yeah,
believe
go
that
ahead.
was last year at Lionsgate 8/8. So I think it's been a year since that's happened, the main fires. But there was another series of fires that occurred on the island like a month before I went. And then it was hit with a triple hurricane before I went too, like a week before I went. So yeah, I think there was a lot of cleansing and clearing and preparation before us even arriving. I went in and got to really decode the Nepali coast. So one of the main things that Kauai is known for. It's like considered the island of levitation, and it's technically the oldest island. Kauai is the mother island, and it's considered the center of the world. You know, it is an inner earth gate, which means that the planetary Akashic records is available there. And it's not just one inner earth gate, it's multiple inner earth gate systems, multiple access points to the inner earth.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Multiple hollowed out cave systems, which allow you to go in and communicate with that inner earth psychic body. So you can get very close and very deep to the spirit of the earth, the spirit of Mana, the spirit of Kauai, the spirit of the Great Spirit, universe, God, source, the ascended masters, the angelic kingdoms. Everything is accessible there, almost visibly with your own two eyes in some places. So the physical and the spiritual are intertwined there at a hyper multidimensional level. And so because of that, yeah, heightened levels of telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation, bilocation, those things are occurring there for people that can go there and sustain their spiritual gifts and abilities, because the vortices are so powerful. It's when I say 122 to 144 dimensional Stargate, that's beyond Giza. That's beyond every other Stargate on the planet and their spiritual capacities and abilities. It's running multiple stairways to heaven, multiple waterfall Venusian geometries and structures, multiple cradle of life portals that are there. It's I can't even explain it, like multiple portals like of light just shooting out of the ground like everywhere. It's literally everywhere. There's hypercube organic tesseract technology that occurs there. So everything that was cloned from the black Saturn cube templating, the Solus fired structure and geometry from Saturn, that's been cloned from the organic intelligence in which resides within the Nepali coast in Kauai, Hawaii. So think about all of that, right? It's multiple time portals, multiple overlapping dimensional time fields and realities that are existing, and a mirroring structure, an organic mirroring reflection technology that's also existing through that. But here's the thing, there's no separation, there's no lack, there's no illusion, it's purity. So it's the most powerful center in which can actually dissolve and break up that black cube energy on the planet and remove it and extract it from that gate system is where that can ultimately be done.
Wow, that's
Is
amazing.
that too much? Is that kind of crazy? uh
No, it's interesting. Like it's so interesting. Like so Hawaii was definitely a key place. It had to be. It had you had to go there and do the grid work to like to see to it's all a big part of the bigger puzzle, kind of, right?
yeah, it's basically a guardian stargate. There are guardian faces across the Nepali coast. You can see the actual gardens there, the celestial
When you
guardian.
say guardians, like who do you think the guardians are? Do you think it's extraterrestrial or angelic, or what do you think? Like,
It's definitely celestial. Okay. It's also like it's like they've installed this consciousness in the planet. It's basically the watchers, like not the angelic watchers that have been demonized and all of this and that, but those that guard the planet. They watch the planet. These are guardian spirits, like rock spirits and rock beings that have the celestial codes within them, so it's intergalactic. But they watch through the guardian faces and the Nepali coast. They watch over the Great Pacific, and they're basically the ones that serve to protect humankind. There's actually multiple running grids and organic lattices of light that connect many multidimensional defender network systems on the planet, such as the pyramid network, all the monolithic networks, everything that's running down with the moais, everything that's basically contracted under guardian coalitions that serve to protect the earth in the face of annihilation or in the face of destruction or earth cataclysm. These are forces that do not allow demonic, diabolical, catastrophic Armageddon codes to erupt on the planet. So they
yeah,
are the protectors of humankind. They're the protectors of the planet. And they do come through celestial factions and nations. You know, we've talked about the 6 main public contracts that are available, but they're not the only ones. There's many other occult systems and nations that are also guardians that are not known of, such as the feminine councils that came here in the beginning of Genesis, in the beginning of creation, that are very connected to those Lemurian scrolls. Like a lot of that information came forward, such as
Who are the feminine councils? Sorry, it's important.
Yeah, Andromeda is one, the Palladian, Syrian, Hydra, Cassiopeia, Pegasus. I feel like I'm forgetting one.
And they all came here and started kind of life on Earth, kind of like, which was probably omitted from all the other all the books that talk about, like they
They're high oracle celestial feminine councils that a lot of them have spent lifetimes on Venus as well, and they came during the beginning. They're the bringers of the dawn. Barbara Marciniak talks about this with the Pleiadians, like the Pleiadian seven sisters. I mean, they're a very well-known high feminine council that came to this planet to basically upgrade the spiritual body of humanity and upgrade the human chromosomes within the Lemurian timeline. They were one of them, but many of them came even before that, before even the Draconian systems took over on this planet. And a lot of this goes back, a lot of this Akashic history is held in the Crux constellation, which was worshipped during the motherlands of Mu. A lot of this information was stored through their genetic code and in the Akashic records of the planet. So a lot of this information is just starting to rebirth itself into collective humanity at this time. There will come a time where the high feminine council and high oracle priestesses will channel that information and bring it forward. That's going to unfold. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That really is. Wow. One thing you mentioned was there were inner Earth entrances in Hawaii. Like, what were you able to find out about that? And how does that what do you think is going on with that?
Well, there are passageways in which do have to be cleared, and this is kind of some of the grid worker role in it, is to help clear passageways, because this relationship with the Earth it's give and take. Like, we give and we take a lot, but we also have to give back, because not all of the burdens in which the planet upholds can easily be transmuted out of her inner Earth passageways unless humanity is more conscious of the energy exchanges in which they have with the Earth. Basically, it's oppressing her energy field as well, right? And when we talk about planetary weapon systems that exist solely to destruct the Earth and send the Earth ley lines and grid points and the matrices into post-traumatic stress disorder, basically, is what's happening to the land in some of these places that the weapons systems are running. Essentially, things get even deeper backed up inside of her, and that darkness and that evil essentially is what it is. It's going into the inner Earth. And so there's an accumulation of darkness and shadow that's inside of the planet that's very difficult for the planet to release. She carries burdens. She carries emotional burdens, just like war timelines and things like this, things that happened in World War I, World War II, civil wars, the great plain Indian wars, where all these Indians were basically slaughtered and had to fight for their land for hundreds of years and get nowhere with it and just put into these reservations. Essentially, this is all stored in her Akashic record and field. So if we're not aiding the assistance of healing the Earth, these blockages get worse and worse and worse. And guess what gets more control? The spike matrix inside of the planet and the Saturnian soulless fire, in which controls that and impales war into other locations such as Temple Mount and Gaza and this and that. So we have to work with the planet to alleviate her burdens as much as she helps heal and restore ours. So that's kind of what the inner Earth passageways, for those that I think have the activation codes in their DNA, that's what they're able to do. They're able to
I love that.
And cleanse it out, basically.
Yeah. This was a question from Azek, and thank you, Beyond the Box, for becoming a member. I love you, Brenda. You're awesome. She'll be on the show. I think Brenda's on October 5th. Anyway, this is from Azek. He says, is it possible to just connect during the Mount Pinnacle time, day, grid work in person? He says, I live in Arkansas's Ark Lioness. aka our planets. Keep shining, sis star, he says.
Oh, thank you, Isaac. Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing anything remotely. It is going to be all boots on the ground location work. So if you want to attend, I am just asking for $100 donation. If this is my most affordable grid work I've ever done, and that's just because I'm truly genuinely putting it out as a call to spirit, just because we need to get there, we need to go. It's imperative that we do the work on behalf of the highest good of humankind and mankind. Praying, ceremony, activating Mount Pinnacle to expand the dove light and to expand the peace codes, the freedom codes, the liberation codes, and all of this, and basically systematically break down all of the distortions that are around Columbia, which is this distorted feminine version. And this goes back to Greece and to Greek. So what's connected to Mount Pinnacle is actually connected to Mount Ida. Mount Ida was also a divine feminine mountain over in Greece. So there's a lot of like passageways to Greece. But yeah, if you want to attend, essentially you just send the donation and we'll put you in our communication group so you can get all of the information and the itinerary, and you would show up for the ceremonies and things like this. I am asking people who attend, though, to make an effort to attend the bulk of the ceremonial work, because if we have people coming in and out, it's going to weaken the group's unified field, essentially. So there is kind of a process to it in which occurs in the beginning, which you need to be there for opening ceremony, because this is where we can build unity within the group. What happens is we have to get everybody's 12th dimensional templating activated before we do this work, right? So sometimes there's some clearing work that goes into this, personal work, things like this, where we have to help people kind of detach stresses and stuff in the main outside world and kind of alleviate some of these things so they can get in the right space to actually deliver the transmissions that are necessary to come through. These are very high powered activated crystal areas. So everybody's going to be already activated at a higher level just from walking on lands that are encoded with quartz crystals all over the ground. So yeah, you want to just donate. It's at paypal.me/IndigoAngel 222. Or you can email in at info@indigoangel222.com and you can attend. And yeah, we'll be there October 16th through the 21st.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, I'd like to come too. I wish I could find someone from up north here. Like, for anybody that's listening to this, I'm in Pennsylvania, so if anybody plans on going to this, I'd like to be there, and I'm sure Indy would want me there too. Like, if I can, carpool with someone, I'm willing to give gas money, and because I'd like to be at this. This sounds like really like I need this. It sounds like a lot of us need to be there.
Yeah, I think it would be so awesome. I've always invited you, and I know it's always like hard to do some of this stuff, but I feel like this one's so close to home. It's really not too far. It's not too expensive. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of boots on the ground work. I mean, it's a lot of hiking. It's actually like getting your hiking boots on and like we have to get up to the top of Mount Pinnacle. We have to grid the base of Mount Pinnacle. We have to get over to the crystal digs so we can get some of the crystals to take over to Mount Pinnacle. We'll be visiting the hot springs in the Hot Springs National Park. And
wait, talk about some of this stuff. I think it's all real important. I don't want you to just glaze over it because this might get more people interested. What is the crystal dig and what are the hot springs? Like the crystal dig, is that actually where you can actually go and dig crystals and like they allow you to and stuff?
Yes. This is because Arkansas is a giant crystal. It's a sun disk location. So the crystal components in the ground are massive. It's the most concentration of quartz crystal in the United States, basically. So it's like you're walking on giant, massive reservoirs of crystals. So yeah, there are crystal digs basically all over the northwestern corner. I mean, there's several of them, like 10 to 12 different locations and businesses and places you can go where you can go and mine and dig up your own crystals out of the ground. So we'll be doing one of those and getting as many crystals as we can to crystal grid Mount Pinnacle. So we'll be crystal gridding the base of the mountain and also the top, activating the 12th dimensional solar disk templating and clearing the channel, the main God channel that's flowing through the center of it and opening that up, essentially, activating the dove light grid, and then also the new earth templating there as well, and basically resurrecting that light. And hopefully that creates the ripple, the wave effect that happens, that continues to expand light, because light likes to expand. That's the thing about it. Light wants to
Yeah.
expand to the next light, and that light wants to expand into the next light. So when you feel the acceleration of that, you'll see how the energy starts rolling. But yeah, carpooling is a great way to go about it. We do have, Rob, like a good handful of people already that are attending. I can always ask and see if anybody's driving down from up north, and if there's already somebody going that could possibly, carpool, because we're definitely going to have to do ride sharing. It's not an event in the sense that I'm offering transportation or lunches or costs for tickets and things like this. This is what I did last time. If I do an event, I'll cover those things because it will be included in ticket cost. But I'm not doing that this time. Like, this is just, we need to get our butts there. We have an itinerary. We know what we need to do. We know where we need to meet. We know what time we need to meet. And so it's like everybody's responsibility to get to where they need to be and get to where they need to go and come and join us in the ceremonial times. I do have some fun things planned, though, like some potlucks and like things that really, like, group building experiences, which allows us all to really connect and create soul family with each other, which we already are all soul family. So it's so easy, when you get around people that you have shared beliefs with, because we're all technically already on the same page. And so the expansion of that divine love and that connection within one another, it's like water. It just flows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, guys, we're going to be doing another show on this. It'll be me, IndigoAngel, and Missy Hill. We'll be doing that October 4th to promote this more, because I realize it's an important thing for you. And I think Missy will be able to add some really interesting stuff in too, and I thought this quote from Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot was really interesting. He says, the center of this area in Arkansas contains almost an endless amount of quartz crystals. That's amazing, right? That's like,
I know, right? It's like people hear Mount Pinnacle, Arkansas, like, what? But once you start researching it and find out like why it's so magical, really, really what we can do there is we can recode the Earth's organic crystal grid structures. Okay, so that means that we got to get into some of those caves. And a lot of the caves that are there are crystal caves. Okay, so these really deep caverns that go really, really deep down into the earth, you get inside them, and what they have all over the walls inside them are crystals, quartz crystals, and things like this. So this is the deepest part of the earth we can get to activate and recode the natural crystal structures inside of our planet, in which uphold the Christ, basically the Christed consciousness. But not just that, the telepathic capacities of the future, because basically in the future we're becoming more crystallized, right? Our minds, our mental capacities and abilities, our spiritual abilities are becoming more crystallized. So we can get in there and recode a lot of that, release harmful programming that's in the crystals, release planetary crystal weapons such as the J seals, right? And those crystal blow up systems that they brought in from Atlantis. A lot of this can be cleared from these inner passageways. So it's very sacred work, right? Like,
yeah.
one's intent has to be very pure to do this type of thing. And so you'll know if you're aligned. If you have a very pure heart, you can keep the emerald covenant within your heart chakra, the 12th dimensional emerald covenant, which is the teachings of the higher heart and how to access the angelic heart. So these are all things that are systematically coming online as one prepares to do this type of work, because the intention and the purity and the alignment of that has to be very much, in alignment. And I said, I've seen this before. There was lots of people that could not go to Hawaii because their codes, right, were basically rejected by the island. I've seen some people that had to go home, like, that couldn't make it, like they dropped off last minute, and that's because their codes were not able to hold the purity of that emerald consciousness, that emerald covenant within. So yeah, look, you already got a donation. Hey guys, donate now and help Rob get to Arkansas. He needs $100. You'll
Mm.
need more than that, actually. You're gonna need, yeah, I don't know, maybe you need a
Probably
rental.
about 1,000, right? Because I'm gonna have to get a hotel room, unless we do like we did like when I went to Florida. When I went to Florida at I'll just tell you guys now. When I was at Disclosure Now, we a bunch of us roomed together. Like I had my room was fan funded, so like but like we still had roommates. Like I had a female roommate and I had a male roommate. Everything worked out fine. Like we got a big room. Like I had a 2 bedroom one, and then one couch, and then we had like a living room and a kitchen type area, and it was dope, you know what I mean? But I had a really nice anyway. Regardless, what I'm saying is like we can work it out to where we can room together, and it doesn't have to be like male female weirdness or whatever because we're all together one soul tribe, and people can be respectful of another person's gender or whatever. You know what I mean? It's if that's what it ends to be, or we can just get our own hotel rooms. Yeah,
Well,
like you know what I mean.
also, I do have a home base location, and I do still have a couple sleeper couches available. If you wanted to stay there, it would be $300 versus 100. But if you wanted to do that, I have space in the main spot. So
Wow, that's cool.
I still have a couple more spots. So if that was something you would want, yeah. But we're
Yeah.
almost we're almost filled up with that. So,
Yeah, and
but
thank
yep.
you for your donation to 100 years from now. I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate it. And Azek donated too. Thank you, Azek. And Brenda. Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate all you guys. You guys are awesome. But yeah, so well, maybe we could take questions. So if anybody has any questions for Indy about her gridwork mission in Hawaii or her gridwork mission in Arkansas or the trip or any questions about the trip, you know, um, you know, let us know right now. You can put your questions in the chat, or if you have questions about anything else like UFO, ET related consciousness, spirituality. Um,
And I have to say, this is a call to the spirit. So it's really about like grid worker missions are not luxury vacations. It's work. You're going to serve on behalf of humankind. You're going to serve on behalf of humanity. Your prayers are going to serve for the highest good of all living beings on this planet and abolishing the corruption and extracting the corruption and really restoring what's there and giving back to that. And so you have to put a lot of personal challenges and things aside. You have to trust that you're being divinely guided, and that if you're meant to do this type of stuff, that the angels and source and universe, that everything aligns to dissolve your challenges and push you forward to actually stay in alignment with that divine work. So it's really it's for a lot of people, I have to remind them that it's about looking past these personal challenges, personal preferences, personal demands and expectations, and learning how to flow with what source and the universe is guiding us to do. And so we have to make
yeah,
sacrifices for that. We actually do. And you'll find that the more sacrifices you start to make for the betterment of all, the more that you're supported by the divine, the more that the angels are literally behind you, just like clapping, and like anything you need, like anything you think of, we're going to manifest it for you because you're working on behalf of source. So this is what starts to happen. You'll see it. I'm telling you, this is a real thing. I started to see it everywhere. I started to just think of things in Hawaii, and 5 seconds later, a solution would present itself to me. And
yeah,
this is actually what starts to develop telekinesis.
yeah. This was a good question from Third Eye Tribe. She wants to know about the slave history in Arkansas. She said, "Does that have anything to do with the energy trapped in the grid?" What I wanted to say was, while we're thinking about that, that one prominent politician, I don't know if we can really say the name, is from that area. You guys know who I'm talking about. But if I say the name, the video could get maybe taken down. But so I'm sure there's a lot of negative energy from that. Do you guys know? You guys have.
I have some things I can read to you if you want. This is the history of the world map by map. It's a Smithsonian book. And I have the whole Trail of Tears information. It's on page 204 if you ever decide to get this book. But this
That's
is
dope. Yeah. And Beth called it out. She said Billy Boy's from Arkansas. But it's Bill Clinton, guys. I'll just say it. But anyway,
that's the
sorry.
actual Trail of Tears, where it started on the East Coast and how it ended up in Arkansas.
So it started in Florida, basically.
Well, there was a lot of tribes in Florida. Georgia, basically all through the South, really. And so they all slowly started moving over to Arkansas, which was kind of like where the last thing played off. So it says the Trail of Tears was from 1830 to 1850. So after the passing of the Indian Removal Act in 1830, around 16,000 Cherokee of the Southeast were rounded up at gunpoint, penned in sanitary camps, and transported to newly designated Indian Territory. Nearly one quarter perished en route. Many other tribes suffered similar forced relocations, collectively referred to as the Trail of Tears. The main thing that happened, though, was the Indian Wars. So it was a prolonged phase of bloody conflict between the Native Americans of the Great Plains and the U.S. Army, centered mainly on the U.S. imperative to secure the transcontinental travel routes from the Native American aggression. Tribal chiefs such as Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull fought heroically, but were unstable to stop the U.S. hunger for new territory. With the final loss of their lands, Native Americans were forced into designated reservations to make way for a new nation. Now, they actually said, this is kind of one like key point that I think is really important, is they called it, like, the colonizers, when they came over, they called it manifest destiny. And it's basically manifest destiny is a coined term in 1845, encompassed the belief in American settlers of their divine right to inhabit and civilize the whole expanse of the continent. Although the hunger for land and opportunities in the West had long been features of American colonization, after independence, it evolved into a sense of continental entitlement that drove mass migration westward. And then there's this painting of the personification of the U.S. called the goddess Columbia. And this is implying that they thought they were doing the righteous thing. So they thought they were doing what was righteous. But so the Columbia, which is our District Columbia, right? District
DC,
Columbia,
yeah.
U.S. All of this is the energy in which hosts the United States government and the district in which it all political bills and rights come through. It's basically sitting in the bathed blood of the Native Americans.
Oh, that's horrible.
It is horrible.
You know,
So
it's
do you see how we can expand in the Christed consciousness until these types of wounds are like healed? Like these types of things are I guess truly honored and acknowledged, and help to lift and alleviate, because this is a major blockage, right? And because it's the grief, it's the trauma of the country and the land.
it really is.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bad stuff happened here. Like Third Eye Tribe mentioned with the slavery and the Trail of Tears, and like, it's like it's
ASIC says itinerary, pay first $100. Well, I'm not giving the itinerary to anybody who's not going, just because, like, I guess there's a level of safety that I also feel around things as well. So I want to know that somebody is invested in attending before I just hand out the itinerary, because, that's kind of like the lifeline of the trip. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to, if you feel like you want to attend, and just message in at info@IndigoAngel222.com.
I can put that in the chat. Hold on. Let me open up I'll open up the episode on my phone so I can type better, because my computer moves slow, and I'll type your email address in the yeah, here we go.
In best sense, it beams out to the obelisk to others. We have worked on clearing the obelisk to send out healing instead. Yeah, the obelisk network is holding the patriarchal domination codes in place, and it really links into the Saturn matrix and spike matrix as well. The obelisks are just extensions of the spike matrix, and they're also lightning rods and lightning wands as well. And they usually place them over Vesica Pisces to essentially dominate the geometry of the yoni, and still keep the female oppression in place. This is why the rising of the feminine oracle, when it comes to New Earth prophecy, is absolutely imperative. That, because they place like chokeholds on the divine feminine's throat chakra. This is really what the J seals are about, distorting the seventh tonal line of the body. I could just talk forever.
No, it's okay. So yeah, talk about that. That's interesting. Yeah, it's I sometimes it goes over my head. I have to like listen to it again, and then I'll get it. You know what I mean? Because you're
Yeah.
so advanced. Like,
It
you
goes
know.
back to the three Abrahamic religions. This is really when a lot of this was actually implanted by the Zetas into the biblical doctrine through the Council of Nicaea, in which King James, who apparently was like a gay guy and like
What?
yeah, he was like homosexual, and there was a whole bunch of other like crazy stuff that was connected to him. And so when they put these books together and distorted a lot of the sacred texts, I mean, they installed things like the J seals, and its deep planetary crucifixion wounding and things like this. And all of this really affected the feminine templating, which still is very much running through the Templar systems today. You know, when the Knights Templar were turned and stopped being able to fight for Christ, and they went and fought for the Roman Church. Okay, and this was a lot of when the darkness kind of incepted all of this stuff, and so a lot of that patriarchal domination and control structure, which affects both men and women, and you can see this in women all the time, controlled and brainwashed by that patriarchal, predatorial, dominating masculine force. And I know guys don't like it when I say that. Like I've watched people's faces literally cringe up when I say that. But it's not them. It's not them. I'm speaking through them to the root of the problem on the planet, right? To the root of what's festering through the religious egregores and the satanic ritual abuse and why Satanism exists on the planet in the first place. So that's
Why? I mean, from what we're told, it's just the opposition of God, like or the supreme consciousness. But like, what is the goal of Satanism? What do you feel?
the goal of
It may
Satan.
sound like a simple question, but it's probably really complex when you think about it. You know?
Yeah, it really truly is. It's really to bind things in slavery and control. I would say Satanism is a force that supports the human farming industry. It supports human trafficking, basically all things that are anti-life. Okay, anything
Yeah.
that's promoting death culturalism and propagating things of impurity, right? It comes in with the Luciferian rebellion and the fall of the angels, the fall of man programming. This was also installed as well. So people believe that the angels fell. The truth is, the angels never fell. Everything that's been created in humankind was created accountable to its blueprint. So things came into existence with the impurity already really kind of technically for many beings that are coming to the planet came in with the soulless body. They actually came in without the fire. They came in through Saturn reincarnation. So it's technical and it's complex, but really Satanism promotes and propagates things that bind things through negative blood covenants.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
I'll go
why
through the
people
comments, see if there's any
drink the blood of their savior. How vampiric is that? I
that
don't know.
is. This is a good comment from the Fringe. About I think this is about the Trail of Tears. She says, oh wait, oh wait, why isn't it showing up? Okay.
Five
Five
elders.
elders smoked peace pipe, but they continue to fight. So the story goes, creator turned them into a ghost pipe plant and said, until the world knows peace, there'll be smoke on the Smoky Mountains. It's interesting.
Well, because that's a different type of fire that's used here on this planet. And the smoke usually often we have to have transformation here. The smoke consciousness honestly reminds me of the mist, which has a lot to do of the in between dimensions between life and death. So it's kind of like smoke and mist, which is almost just like another element of smoke. They represent spirit trying to transition, or spirit trying to rise, or spirit trying to move, essentially. So it does play a role here in terms of cleansing. Smoke means that tortured, usually like things that are tortured. Like when you have fires that rage across the grids, it's because things are not right. Things are in a
Yeah.
downward ascension, metatronic death spiral type of thing that's going on there, and that there is deep cleansing that has to happen, and that smoke has to transition then the destruction and the negative energy and try to move that into another phase of consciousness evaluation and cleansing of soul fire and everything that has to work through those processes.
This is a really good question too, and I'm guilty of celebrating Halloween. I kind of do. I don't celebrate it. I will do shows based around Halloween because, like, I just like the fun of it. But like, this is a good question from Emma. She says, "I wondered how I should celebrate Halloween given all the negative things that happen on this day. Is there a way to celebrate it in a way that counteracts dark forces?"
I'm not sure. Do you know, Rob?
I know. I would just say, like, I don't know, celebrate it, but don't. I don't know, like, I don't know. Like, I would say, like don't put any energy into anything like dark or like you could listen to some shows about ghosts or watch some movies, but don't put like I don't know, like it's just like Indy was saying, like about like everything that's satanic on this planet is revolved around death. Don't put any in I don't know. I guess you can't get around that on Halloween. You're talking about people who are dead, and I don't know. I think it's different though. I think it's different. Like you can celebrate it with a pure energy of just having fun. I truly believe that. I think you can look at it in that kind of way. You don't have to be bought into like that you're doing evil just because you're celebrating it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong though.
And
I
on
don't know.
some level, is it spiritually bypassing? Because like everything in which we celebrate, especially things that are locked into the Gregorian calendar, are locked into the draconic law, basically. And so you're supporting the third dimensional time matrix field structures versus the fourth in some way. So if you think about it on that level, like you're still binding yourselves into the same belief structures in which support the greater whole of devastation. And I'm not saying not to do it if you don't want to, you know what I mean? Like it's really about seeing through the illusions and the veils of separation in which exist and what that tesseract cube is ultimately doing to you psychologically. Okay, so
Yeah.
if you want to exist in that psychological like matrix where it's like a psychological thriller, you know what I mean? It depends where you're at in your evolution of your journey, right? Because really, I think you realize at some point that the more that you purify yourself and cleanse yourself of those distortions, because there's a lot of curses and black magic that are connected to that.
Yeah.
So anything that you support that may have an extension of that energy field, you can pull the string of that into your life, and it can karmically play out and thread through you and bind you to whatever harvesting in which may come upon that when it comes through.
This was a good one. This was Emily Howard. She's very inquisitive. She always gives me a lot of good information on a lot of good videos that come out, like podcasts and stuff. But she says, "Could you explain the Saturn part?" She says, "I've heard of that too." But like Ellen King comes on my show and she talks about how Saturn kind of rules this realm. Um, she said it's like a part of the construct. Like, and then Emily followed up with the dominating bad forces are all Saturn black box. What does that mean? She says, I think she was getting with that. I think.
Well, it goes back to planetary history, and I think planetary warfare, which ensued and took upon this planet, going back to Tiamat and Marduk and Maldek. And I think what happened was part of that planetary war, something blew up into Saturn. I don't know if it came from Marduk or Maldek. I don't have the entire story, but I know parts or fragments flew into the rings of Saturn, and those rings of Saturn were ultimately dispelled into Earth's atmosphere. And I can't say where in the planetary timeline of history that this black cube consciousness basically formed. It may have embedded into the mental fields of the planet, and then over time that this created the mental constructs within our own Earth. Because what I do know and see psychically is that the black cube is basically a 3D form of the Saturn hexagon. Okay, so that's kind of become what the black cube symbolizes inside of the Earth's inner Earth holographic templating. So every time we have alignments and planetary cycles with Saturn, that cube consciousness activates. Saturn is the lord of time, Saturn is the lord of karma, Saturn is the lord of teaching, parental roles, things like this, right? But it's also the lord of illusions, it's the lord of trickery, the lord of mischief. Okay. And so that tesseract cube is a psychological distortion in which creates separation in between veils and pockets of illusions within the third dimensional time fields. Not only that, it has supported and propagated the Templar systems, which are ultimately the religious systems on the planet. Okay, and things like this. It came in, and there's been like coalitions and deals with the beings from Draco and Saturn. I mean, a lot of the draconian outposts and bases are coming in and out of the rings of Saturn. I mean, you could read the ring makers of Saturn, and they've done
Yeah, that's a
scientific
good book. Yeah.
evidence of this. Yeah,
Yeah. That's a
yeah,
good book if you guys haven't heard of that. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's an old book. It was written in like the 80s or 90s or something like that. It's let me look it up. But anyway, I thought the Fringe made a really good point about Halloween. I'll put it up and I'll see what you think. It's the Fringe says about Halloween. She says she says the veil is thinner, the air is very magical. It's already here. The power is in honoring your unique self. Do what makes your heart sing. For me, it's enjoying the season and the magic and everything. I don't know.
yeah. I agree. The changing of the seasons and all of that is really lovely to experience, and but I also would warn people to even celebrate the pagan holidays as well, because if we want to talk about really ridding the planet of satanic ritual abuse, I mean, a lot of black magic has been done through things like summer solstice, winter solstice, Samhain, the spring equinox, the fall equinox. A lot of black magic has been casted under these types of things. So really, to clear the passageways inside the earth and the planet, according to planetary alignments, we have to start cleansing the earth of things that are done out of despise, envy, lust, greed, hatred, colonization, whatever it is, right? Like all of the atrocities, genocide, Holocaust, betrayal, all of these things, these are done a lot of times under these planetary alignments. So it's like we have to purify our calendrical systems, our lunar systems, our solar systems, right? And really activate even the 12th dimensional templating within these bodies as well to purify the essence of them. So that way, when these alignments come back around, we can work more clearly within harmony with the divine versus things that are connected to occult rituals in which connect you and whatever it is you're doing back to a global entity in which maybe consumes children or something like this.
Yeah, yeah, which is it's just insane, and it really happens. Kaysen had a question about your name. Like, I know Kaysen, she's been on my show like 8 times, but like, he's from Sri Lanka, so he's new, and I think he's new to a lot of these topics. So for all the people that already tune in and know Indigo Angel, like we know, but like maybe if you want to talk a little bit about your name and like what it means and everything, like to you.
My name came to me in the beginning of my awakening, and it was really born through my awareness of my cosmic identity and also my angelic identity, which I'm very connected to the primordial serpent, seraphim progenitor races and race lines. I'm a Hydra star seed. And so a lot of this was kind of given to me through kind of like a initiation through expanding into my angelic heart and understanding what my mission and my role was going to be here as a way shower and as an evolving student of this earth and this life. And basically, I consider myself to be a guardian representative, an ambassador of these nations, and help teach the guardian consciousness and teach the evolutionary spiritual technology in which helps us to pave the way for new earth. So through my name, IndigoAngel, ultimately my abilities have been upgraded over time, but ultimately I consider myself to be a vision holder of new earth prophecy. So because I can hold that vision and understand the mechanics and the function of what's supposed to happen and occur, I know how to help assist people to create it, basically.
Wow. This has been awesome. I loved having you on again. This was great. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Or, I mean, we're going to be doing this again on the 4th. So, I just got to get to the store before it closes. But, yeah, anything else you want to say or anything to promote or talk about before we go?
No, I feel like we covered a lot of it, don't you think?
Yeah, and again, we're going to be back on again on the October 4th, and we'll be doing another show then. So it'll be awesome, And yeah, thank you so much. Like this was amazing, and I'm really going to try to come. I'm really going to try to get my shit together and come.
I really would love it if you came. Honestly, I feel like we would have so much fun. Like, it's going to be so much of Soul Family that's going to be there. Missy's going to be there. I mean, you know how fun Missy is. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel like you would go back home a new man, like transformed forever, honestly, because it's not just about doing the good work. Like we heal each other. Like you're coming into the arms of Soul Family where everybody's like a 12th dimensional healer. I mean, do you know what that's like? Like it's like we take care of each other. We help nurture each other. If someone comes in that's sick or has a problem, we work to heal them. Everybody's a priority. Everybody matters. So it's getting our codes up. It's going through the planetary activations together. It's living on behalf of something that's beyond us. And our beliefs are so unified and our vision is so unified that it changes your outlook entirely on life and completely like upgrades your soul and your ability to feel and see energy and everything. So yeah, I hope you come, Rob. And thanks for having me on. Thanks everyone for watching. And
Yeah, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you and all that stuff, and how they can get it, join the Gridwork mission and everything?
You can find me and all of my services. I have lots of healing services, J seal removals, 13 dimensional chakra clearance, IndigoAngel222.com. And if you want to join the Grid Worker mission, you just want to email in at info@IndigoAngel222.com. And it's $100 donation to paypal.me/IndigoAngel222. And we'll add you to our list.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. I have another show. I think Ellen King's going to be on live tomorrow, so tune in tomorrow, and I'll see you guys soon. And take care, guys. Thanks,
Bye.
Cindy.